Should there be a fourth classification of rock? Now, I did a video quite recently explaining the difference between igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. And I've done a few different kinds of videos like this in various different formats. So if you want to understand that first, by all means, go and watch that video before watching this one. However, there is a fairly convincing argument that these are not the only classifications of rock. They're just kind of the ones that are accepted: igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary. Now, there's a handful of other categories that don't fit neatly into this packaging. Now, a good example is going to be something like a tektite or an impactite. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what tektite is, it's essentially a byproduct generally of a meteorite impact. It comes from the Greek word tektos, and you're going to see things like moldavite, which most of you are going to be familiar with. If you've got this far into the video, most people know moldavite, indochinite, philippinite, Darwin glass, things like Libyan desert glass. There's various different kinds of tektites and sort of impactites. So materials that have come about as a result of a meteorite impact. They are not fragments of a meteorite, which is how they're often being held up. They're very much terrestrial material that's usually comprised of at least a respectable proportion of silica, meaning that chemically they're actually not too dissimilar from things like obsidian. However, obsidian is a rock or mineraloid that's come about as a result of processes that fit neatly inside the igneous packet, whereas a tektite or an impactite, which is essentially a byproduct of a collision event, does not fit into that category. It's not come about as a result of volcanic activity. It's not come about as a result of layers of sediment progressively bearing down on it. And it's not come about as a result of enormous amounts of pressure and heat and time triggering some kind of chemical reaction, which is how we generally categorize something like a metamorphic rock. So things like impactites and tektites are outliers. They don't fit neatly into this sort of triple whammy neat packaging that we've created in order to categorize crystals, minerals, rocks, but rocks more broadly. Now, believe it or not, tektites are not the only outliers. If we were to take everyone that wants to get their way, there would actually be about 6 or 7 different classifications of rock. So today we're doing tektites, or we've done tektites and pointed out that this is an outlier, but I'm going to make a series of these videos explaining and unpacking the other potential varieties of rock that do not in any way, shape or form fit neatly into that little sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic packet.